Then you throw in a Leante Wester. Shoot, like, come on. Like, this guy went for over $1,000 last year, and he's a big play waiting to happen. Now you couple him with Jimmy Horn in the slot, and you got some problems.
I can commit right now, two major updates for some of the most electric new players in the NFL, that being Lajohntay Wester and Jimmy Horn Jr. Now, one for the Panthers and one for the Baltimore Ravens. And interesting because both of these players, both from the Colorado Buffaloes, both from the Deion Sanders regime, both former transfers from Florida schools, are ready to make a giant impact in both ways, both on special teams and in the offense. And both of these players are well poised to do so, right? You talk about the Panthers, who need all the help they can get and need to make sure their wide receiver room is as dynamic and full of weapons as possible to bolster Bryce Young. And then you talk about the Ravens, where they just seem to just need an extra spark. You got D-Hop, you got the Bateman, you got Zay Flowers, you've got a lot of electricity in there, Isaiah Likely, but a little extra bit of spark, maybe some end around action, maybe some big time in the special teams is all you need to really take an elite team over the edge. So I think they're both well poised to get some burn. And now we see both Jimmy Horn and Lajohntay Wester getting that work in before the camp and training camp starts. Now, we do have the training camp schedule. We're going to go over both of them. But first, I want to make sure that we see these clips. I was probably playing these clips. The big thing here, and the reason why I want to start with Jimmy Horn Jr., even though I know we talked about him recently, we know that the last thing we heard from him is actually that he was injured. So now, nothing major, just a hamstring injury. And you know, when Coach was talking about it, you know, he made sure to point out the fact that this is an injury that they're just resting, right? They just want to make sure that they want to make sure rather that when he does come back for training camp, when the pads come on, it really does matter. And I want to talk about this. And as you see Lajohntay in the back, we're gonna watch some Lajohntay film too. As you see in the back, and two things. I want to quote that Jimmy Horn, obviously he's not the tallest dude, but the limbs, dog, pause. But he has really long legs. He's got that runner build and really long arms. So he's fine with high pointing things, although he's a quote unquote smaller receiver. So I think that's a good thing to point out. A big thing that I want to point out, kind of something that I alluded to, right? How do these receivers, you know, 6th-round picks, how do they find a way to get integrated into the offense? Now, they can get integrated, what's it called? And here's what I want to talk about. They can get integrated in special teams, but in the offense, how do they get integrated? And it looks like Jimmy Horn is already practicing some NFL schemes. So I don't think I forgot what that motion is called, but he's just practicing a motion out and then into your route. So it seems that whatever role that he's been playing clearly in the Panthers offense is that, hey, he's been working motion out, boom, and hitting. And I know they're all working it, but I'm sure that at the NFL level, you're going to see that because he didn't see that at Colorado. I don't even think he saw that at USF. That he obviously there was pre-snap motion, not as much, but that's going to be, we've seen such a large of, you know, pre-snap stuff, getting people open, right? When you talk about a wide receiver who, Jimmy Horn, who might not be the biggest, and you talk about what a modern offense is, well, it's about how do I put these guys in space to create space, right? Those extra, and here he is working with Bryce Young, his QB, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's dope to see that he's, you know, amongst this group. Xavier Leggett, you know, we got a Minnesota Viking here. We got Xavier Leggett, you got T-Mac, you got Bryce Young, and of course you got Jimmy Horn. But no, it's great to see him work some of those NFL type schemes, right? He's not just out there running routes. Oh no, let me get to the intricacies of things that I didn't do at the collegiate level. He never had to do outside motions. He never did those things in Pat Shermer's offense. So, you know, being able to do that, practice that, and practice the small stuff, that's what makes me and lets me know that you're locked in. It's not just you know what I'm saying? I'm flowing. You know what I'm saying? It's more so that what's it called? He's really locked in. And here's the group that they was getting their training on, right? Bryce Young, Adam Thielen, Jimmy Horn Jr., T-Mac, Jatavion Sanders from the University of Texas. Shout out to Jatavion. David Moore, Xavier Leggett, trained together in the off period before training camp. So it's great to point out that all of these guys are getting that work in, right? It's not just Jimmy Horn and Lajohntay, but there's a nice group of Panthers that are getting some work in. Now, before we go to Lajohntay, before we talk about the schedule, before we get into the schedule and then read some articles about Lajohntay and Jimmy, let's go to Lajohntay. So in that same session, right, guess who's also putting in work? And it's Mr. Lajohntay Wester. He's got his helmet on. He wants to see it in a different way. Leante Wester is extremely poised. He didn't have as many clips. Obviously, you saw him in the background with Jimmy Horn. But extra work is nothing new to Lajohntay. He's been getting extra work. Obviously, he's been kind of highlighted as the punt returner. It seems that Harbaugh is giving him extra care when it comes to being the returner. So whether it's the offense or it's just special teams, Leante Wester is poised to be a big impact, period, right? And then we're talking about a Ravens team that didn't have a lot of impact when it came to their special teams efforts, specifically in the return game. So allowing them to use their wide receiver room, even if it's just, hey, Leante Wester is just a return man, he's been vocal about that role being fine for him and him embracing that role. And look, he's a 6th-round pick. So if all, quote unquote, all he gets is being a marquee return man, I don't think that's bad value for the Ravens, and I definitely don't think that's a bad start for Leante Wester. He definitely has the tools and capabilities to be able to do that. Now, I got 2 separate what do you call them, articles in which we're going to yap a little more about Jimmy Horn, and these are kind of centered around each of their team and how their teams kind of see them, and more so their fan base sees them. But before we do that, I do want to inform y'all about the upcoming schedule for training camp. So the Carolina Panthers have a little over a month of summer vacation left. On Wednesday, the NFL announced the training camp reporting dates for all 32 teams. According to the NFL schedule, the Panthers rookies are set to turn up on Monday, July 21st, with veterans following in on Tuesday, July 22nd. So the Carolina Panthers are officially in training camp July 21st, and then the real deal July 22nd. So we're gonna see Jimmy the 21st, right? Now, going to Lajohntay in the Ravens, right? Get your calendars out. The Ravens training camp schedule has been announced. The rookies will report Tuesday, July 15th. Now, again, I don't think I've kept up with training camps. I've never been as in depth to keep up with the break between rookies and veterans. This seems abnormal to me, but y'all might be able to tell me differently. The rookies will report on Tuesday, July 15th, and the veterans will arrive 1 week later on July 22nd. So I think that's interesting to point out that that's how they'll do it. But again, July 15th, July 22nd, so we could possibly see Lajohntay earlier on July 15th. And that's actually next week. So next week for Lajohntay, you got still a week and some change for Jimmy Horn, and then things will kind of go from there. Wait, is that next week? Oh, that is next week. Wow, that is crazy. Sorry, time is flying, man. Time is flying. All right, so moving forward, let's go ahead and talk about Jimmy Horn Jr. Now, this is from the Panthers Wire, and the other one is going to be from the Ravens Wire. So again, these are fan-led, insider type teams or type organizations right in these articles. So we'll kind of take that how we take that. The Carolina Panthers may have fulfilled Jimmy Horn Jr.'s destiny. Cassidy Hill of the Panthers.com profiled the rookie wide receiver rise to the NFL in a new article from Monday. Hill's piece highlighted a pre-draft prediction from Horn, who claimed he wanted to end up in Carolina. But why and how? Manifestation, Horn stated. Per Hill, I manifested it, because I came with my 30th visit here. This was one of the visits I had, and when I came up, I just felt the vibe. I was like, if I could commit right now, this was college. This is where I would have committed. Hey, man, that boy Jimmy Horn, that's why he was so ready right then and right now, because he just felt it. It was just the energy in the building. When you come in, you can just feel it. It's something special going on here. And then, we're looking at the videos. I can see they building around the program and stuff. So this is something that I wanted to be a part of. I prayed about it, manifested it, and God answered my prayers. We got a piece of that manifestation a few weeks back when the University of Colorado released a short documentary of Horn's journey to the pros. The video featured a trip to the athletic hardware retail store Lids, where Horn first reached for a Panthers hat. And hey, that was real deal. This is before he even got drafted. He went ahead and reached for that one before he got his, his set of hats that he was ready to rock and roll. The hat came in handy as the Panthers selected Horn in the 6th round of the draft soon after. So this was just a cool little snippet of how people are looking at him and kind of the good story. Now this is how other people look at him.
The deep ball and the backflip afterwards.
Jimmy Horn Jr. did not get a lot of targets because the main focal point of that offense was Travis Hunter. But Jimmy Horn is smooth, got some speed to him. He can run, he can catch. His spacing between lead foot and back foot, ideal, no false movement. I was pretty impressed. Let's get knee deep in these plays right here. in the slot, little underneath route, ball's behind him a little bit, catches it, gets back downhill.
I have said some teams, Steve said smaller size, play smaller, but I also know he doesn't play with a whole lot of fear at all.
Nope, just a tough catch in traffic.
Bow!
Looking at his routes in person, Jimmy
hey,
Horn Jr.
thank ya.
is in my top 15. Moved up. He moved up big time for me.
Top 15 for Mr. Steve Smith. And if you know anything about Steve Smith, he is quite quite tough on receivers. So I thought that was a dope little snippet to kind of throw in there as we close the Jimmy Horn Jr. part of this video. Now, going to Leante Wester, who I think a lot of people, specifically in Baltimore, have a lot of high expectations for. So the NFL draft has been described as a selection meeting, a crapshoot, an inexact science. And this is from Ravens Wire. Truthfully, it's all those things. The Baltimore Ravens spend an entire year preparing for the next one once the current version wraps. No one knows for certain how prospects will turn out. One never knows if a first rounder is a bust or a late rounder is a steal. Heat must be applied to find an answer. And once the kettle is turned up, the heat forges lumps of coal into diamonds. Well, that was eloquently put. Or at least that's what the drafting team is hoping. Every coin has two sides, winning and losing. Come draft time, with a prospect can, at times, feel like flipping one. We've learned as we have grown, heat and pressure can also burst pipes, boy. And when it comes to surviving in the NFL, these young draftees would certainly rather be a diamond. The good news for the Ravens fans is as follows. Baltimore has traditionally been one of pro football's top drafting teams. They always draft late and still find a way to get great value. The 2025 class is an exciting bunch featuring a star in the making, Malachi Starks, and possibly the best late-round pick that no one is discussing except us on this channel. Ravens fans and the Baltimore media will want to familiarize themselves with Lajohntay Wester immediately. High expectations. And speaking of expectations, are a part of the draft day experience. First and second rounders are expected to contribute immediately, or at worst case scenario, they're expected to sit early and develop into starters later. The mid-round prospects are often where the meat of the roster is built. Talent is hopefully found at bargain prices once teams reach day 3. Round 6 and 7 in particular, the hope is that the drafting teams get lucky to find the aforementioned steal. The Baltimore Ravens may have found one. Ladies and gentlemen, feast your eyes on Leante Wester and jot his name down if you haven't already done so. The general public probably best knows Wester for his single season in Colorado. He played for the Buffaloes under Coach Prime Deion Sanders, but it was his previous season with FAU that put him on the NCAA's radar. He led the American Athletic Conference. That's a competitive conference now, with 108 receptions, 1,168 yards receiving, en route to 8 receiving touchdowns. And I will point out that he had 10 touchdowns the following year with a beefier wide receiver room. We had to compete for more. So he's that dog. He also led the AAC with 278 punt return yards, that's the big one. That's the one where I think, the Ravens really looked at and said, hey, that we can do that. We can do that immediately, right? We can plug and play somebody with great value. So even if I don't get him on the offense, maybe he takes some time to develop and go ahead and catch these punts, dog. 19.9 yards per return average and a punt return touchdown for his efforts. He was named AAC Special Teams Player of the Year and a first-team All-American Athletic Conference Championship or Conference nod and a 2023 first team All-American. Competition matters. Some saw Wester's achievements as the product of playing in a lesser conference versus lesser competition. By stepping up his game and joining the Big 12 conference, he proved he could still flourish, stacking 74 receptions, 931 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns, like I told y'all, in 13 games. 10 touchdowns, I think that is so impressive as a college wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? I feel like ever since Devontae Smith's season, I feel like our expectations for, and maybe even Jamar in them seasons, like I feel like our expectations for a wide receiver going crazy is like so high. But I think 10 touchdowns is a crazy day for one wide receiver. Baltimore selected him 203rd overall during round 6 of last year's draft. The hope is that his skill set will translate. Fear not, there is a good chance that it will. Wester proved he can be an early contributor during OTAs. He worked on fielding punts. He has taken snaps at wide receivers, becoming a fan favorite. Ravens running back coach Willie Taggart was FAU's head coach from 2020 to 2022. There, he mentored Wester for 3 seasons. Wouldn't you know it, Chuck Pagano's return isn't the only Ravens reunion that fans and the media will have an opportunity to fawn over. That is super cool. OTAs brought a lot of padless work in shorts, so it's hard to diagnose who or what should be gauged by what was presented there. It doesn't seem like Wester has much competition for a punt returner's role. So if he continues to prove himself, that may provide some early opportunities to make a name for himself and battle on Baltimore's roster as a special teams player. From there, we'll see what happens. He's off to a good start. If he keeps this up, he figures to earn a spot on the roster and potentially contribute early. So with both of these, I think there's some great insight. I think it's some great thought process and some great decisions to be made here. But, kind of close the book first on Jimmy Horn, right? Positives and negatives. I think the negative is, starting your career with the whole injury situation. I don't think that's a great sign, from just the way the NFL teams are going to be looking at it. But to be positive, right, he's already back working, and the team came out for a 6th rounder. You have to understand, a 6th round pick, they came and made an announcement saying, hey, Jimmy Horn is going to be okay. We're just resting it. So that clearly shows the media interest. That shows that the team obviously feels enough pressure to be able to, hey, Jimmy Horn going to be all right. And when you say Jimmy Horn's going to be all right, that clearly means that, hey, Jimmy Horn's going to be available. There's going to be some value there. So I think that he's in a phenomenal spot. I think that the team, which is the most important thing, the team seems to enjoy him. T-Mac seems to have a good relationship. He's out there private training with some vets and some greats out there. Adam Thielen, Bryce Young, all that. So he's already doing the right things and becoming a part of this team. It would be hard for me to believe that he gets cut and doesn't make the team. But I do want us to be understandable, right, or understand that is a possibility, right? As much as we love this, as much as they got drafted, they are technically only signed through training camp. So this is where all this is great. All the protecting Jimmy Horn is great. But I want y'all to know, for Jimmy Horn and Lajohntay and Shedeur, and for all of these rookies that are later round, this is when the chips come on the table. I don't think they could have really got cut, OTAs and all that other stuff. But now it goes from, all right, I'm protecting you, Jimmy, to if I got to protect you at a training camp, I don't know if a 6th rounder is going to make it, right? But I think Jimmy Horn is going to make it with flying colors. Again, I think the relationship is already there. I think there's too much value for Jimmy Horn, so I think that's great. And for Leante Wester, I think that, right, he's only showed, while Jimmy Horn, while both these guys are hard workers, I think Jimmy Horn has shown his more likability, and I think people kind of flock towards him. With Leante Wester, at least what we've seen, because admittedly it hasn't been a lot, we've seen him almost lead by example, right? He's been out there in the wide receiver drills. He's been out there doing stuff. He's been catching the eye and the ire of Harbaugh. So I think what he's been doing a great job of is ensuring that he's continuing to work and continue to utilize what he can to maximize his time, right? And I think his only negative right now is that wide receiver room is packed. And it's not just packed. It's packed with, you talk about Zay Flowers, you talk about Bateman, the receivers that do things that Lajohntay offers, but they might do a little quicker. They might do a little better at a higher level. Not to say that Lajohntay can't do amazing things. I think the shiftiness, the smoothness, the route running is what really separates him. But when you talk about familiarity and speed and all those different things that Lamar Jackson already has with those other receivers, that might make it harder for him to compete. And then you talk about the fact that he loves both of his tight ends. He likes targeting both Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely is a glorified, just big receiver, that he likes to throw to. And then you got D-Hop. So that would be Lajontay's negative. But then the positive is that, look, the Ravens are hungry for the next Jacoby Jones, right? They need somebody, or Duvernay. Duvernay did good for them too at one point. So I think it leaves a void that no matter what, I think Lajohntay is going to find some great value. But I think both these players are going to find great value. Y'all let me know how it feels, if y'all are excited for Lajohntay, for Jimmy Horn. Are you a Panthers fan? Are you a Ravens fan? Are you just a Buffalo fan that's supporting your future Buffaloes? Let me know down below in the comments. Can't thank y'all enough for watching. Like this video if you like it. Dislike if you don't like it. Subscribe if you enjoy football content of all shapes, sizes, forms, and fashions. Continue to be great. We'll see you next time. Peace.